So Elon Musk and SpaceX are getting ready to send people to Mars. Sounds great to me because every time I watch Fox News, I want to get off this planet. May 8th, 2014 on the People's Radio.
The People's Radio is brought to you by the working class. The thoughts and opinions expressed on the People's Radio do not necessarily reflect the thoughts and opinions of the People's Radio, of the supporters of the People's Radio, or of anyone else. You have been warned.
We are back after a 1-week hiatus. People's Radio is back. I had to move my family, and we went there for almost a week without internet. We went there for 3-4 days without internet. Wow, it was stressful, but now my family's located in a better place, more conducive to my goals and dreams and ambitions and aspirations in life. It's more conducive to the People's Radio. It is more conducive to my plans for organizing for humanity. And hopefully we should be able to get everything up and running soon. The People's Radio permanent studio, where I can broadcast live from, is under construction, piece by piece. We're starting to get a little bit more order to the program. We're starting to get a little more content in. I've got a lot of stuff to go over. But first, let's start off with our enemies, those domestic terrorists, the Clive and Bundy freaks. Basically, 3 weeks ago, I predicted on the People's Radio, if you just leave these guys alone, they'll start to consume themselves and they will consume their environment. It's how people function. It's how it works. You have to set up a society to cater to people, to keep them from fighting amongst themselves and blah blah, and keeping them constantly refreshed with new supplies, or else they start instantly trying to fight amongst each other. And when you get a whole group of people and their entire philosophy on life is anti-social, anti-government, anti-cooperation, then yeah, it's destined to fail from the beginning. So 3 weeks ago, I made the prediction that if we just leave them alone, they would start to fight amongst each other, because they would consume their immediate surroundings, and then they would run out of the... See, let's break it down like this. They're running around pretending that they're in some sort of war. And if there was a war going on between them and the government, it would already be over. It would be like the shortest war in the history of the world. Here's a bunch of rednecks in the desert, all sitting out in the open, and we would just roll up with the National Guard or whatever, arrest them, take them away, and that'd be that. I mean, maybe they'd fire a couple of shots, we'd fire back, and they would be dead within minutes. You just can't stand up to government. You can't fight Uncle Sam. They don't have people with them. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the demographics of who supports him and who doesn't. After Clive and Bundy made his racial remarks, the amount of people who support him have now gone silent. That does not mean that there is not a significant portion of our population that still supports him. They just don't want to say it publicly because they don't want to sound like racists. Just like there is a significant portion of our population that dislikes Obama just because he's a black man on TV instead of an old white man, which is what they're used to. But they don't want to say that publicly because it would make them sound like racists. So how did my prediction go? I consider myself a futurist. I'm making predictions all the time. If you listen to this show, I predict upcoming technology. I predict what we're going to do with that technology. And like some people think I get kind of out there with some of my claims. Like, for instance, transhumanism. I think that we're going to merge with the singularity with brain implants. And Business Week just ran a story. Brain implants will give us perfect memory and night vision. So, yeah, I mean, everything that I say is coming true. It's just how it works. I see technology coming. I see technology arising. I see our Star Trek future coming. I just want to help us transition into that future with no bloodshed. with no infighting, like the Clive and Bundy idiots are doing. So let's explain this. Let's get back to it. The Clive and Bundy idiots were basically divided into two groups. You had the main Bundy militia. Yeah, I know. Go with me here. You had the main Bundy militia that showed up early, and they were all like, yeah, we're going to protect this man from the evil Uncle Sam. And they ran around in soldier boots with their AR-15s that they bought at gun shows. And they stand around and compete on who has the coolest looking sunglasses. And they just kind of look afar as though there's this invisible enemy that's going to just one day pop up and kill them. Then you had this already established group called the Oath Keepers. Now, the Oath Keepers is this group online. I don't recommend you necessarily Google them because, I mean, frankly, they're kind of like on the FBI watch list, because these are the fringest of the fringe white supremacists. These guys flat out are just like, yeah, the Constitution gets to mean that I get my perfect libertarian paradise where I can enslave the black man because he's lazy or whatever. I mean, it's feudalism, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, the Oath Keepers was this secondary militia force. These are basically your guys that like to play Rambo on the weekends. And so they were like, oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be great. So they showed up at the Bundy Ranch, and they were like, we're here to serve. We're here to fight. But they're crazy. Their members are crazy. And they're crazy, paranoid crazy. Like crazy Alex Jones crazy. Like crazy, the government is coming to get me crazy. Right? So you know what's going to happen when you get a bunch of crazy people in the desert and tell them that they're in the middle of a war with some federal government. Their mind starts to go all, woo. So one of them apparently came up with the idea that they were in contact with a highly trustworthy source at the Department of Defense, because that's likely. And apparently this highly trusted source told the Oath Keepers that Eric Holder, now go with me, you got to be sitting down, and if you're driving, maybe you should pull over for a second, because you're gonna want to flip out of your chair when you hear this. Eric Holder supposedly got clearance from Obama to hit them with a drone strike. I'm not joking. This is what they thought. This is what they believed. They apparently got on their Facebook, and somebody was like, Obama gonna bomb you with the drone. And they were like, oh my God, I totally believe it. That makes total perfect sense. They think that they're in a war. They think that they are important enough to be drone striked. So what did the Oath Keepers do? The Oath Keepers said, well, we're like 30 miles outside of Vegas, or 90 miles. I think it's 90 miles. We're 90 miles outside of Vegas, so hey, why don't we get, I swear, this is what they said. Why don't we get out of the kill zone and then go into the casinos and spend our Social Security money? So they just left. And they went to Vegas, and they stayed in hotels, and they had their air conditioning, and they went and gambled and had fun and partied. And then they wanted to come back, like the next day or 2 days later, 3 days later, something like that. And then the original militia, the other militia, turned on them and called them traitors and turncoats. Let's take a look.
And these are things that we live by throughout our entire lives. And that is, you do not ever leave a man behind on the battlefield. You do not ever turn tail and run in the face of danger. You do not ever leave a fallen comrade to fall into the hands of the enemy. And you drive on towards the objective, even if you're the last man standing. This is desertion that was done. This is dereliction of duty that was done. Okay? And that is my opinion, and I believe that's reinforced by most of the people here.
Can we vote on that we believe that then?
Let's put that up to a quick vote. Is that agreed? This was desertion?
Yes.
Hey. Okay. And if they come here to volunteer to fall under that platform and those objectives, then they volunteer to fall under that leadership. And if they obey outside leadership, that's called being a traitor. Agreed? Agreed. Okay.
So the pretend leadership of the pretend army that's in a pretend war had a pretend desertion from the pretend orders, which could have had, I don't know, consequences on their pretend drone strike. This is so ludicrous. This is crazy. Did you see what I mean about they just kind of stand around and compete on who has the coolest sunglasses? They don't have anything to do. There is no war. There is no fight that they're currently fighting for. There's nothing. It's just an old crank who doesn't want to pay his taxes, doesn't want to pay his government fees. That's all it is. And they're just standing out there with the I got the coolest hardware from the Army salvage store, so I guess that makes me a leader. Agreed? Yes, agreed. And they all raise their hands. It's just the dumbest, stupidest, crazy. This is what unemployed people do in the 21st century. This is what unemployed white people do in the 21st century. Think about this. I mean, this is what they do. They just sit around and play war. I mean, I used to play war when I was a kid. Bang, bang, let's put up some army dudes. Yeah, I mean, it was fun when you're a kid. But then, when you get older and you realize that war is actually a horrendous, horrible thing, it suddenly becomes not so fun to play it anymore. But, I digress. It's just crazy. I predicted it. It has come true. They have started the infighting. So now you have the regular Bundy militia, which has now declared that the Oath Keepers, which was actually a larger, more sizable force, if you want to call it that, they've kicked them off the land and told them to leave because it's both ridiculous and true at the same time. They're basically just old people on Social Security checks that sit around in the desert. They don't have anything else to do because they don't have jobs. Congress refused to pass Obama's jobs bill a long time ago. And we've had a constant, steady, new, higher unemployment rate than what America's kind of used to. So we end up with these veterans and veteran wannabes that are unemployed, and they sit around and they just they play fight in the desert. And I can even give another example of that. Let's take a look.
When you stood beneath the bridges, all of us across this country, in those long moments, were staring civil war in the face. All over this country, at this moment, we are still staring civil war in its bloody face. To believe otherwise is to whistle past the graveyard of our own history. We have, to use the blunt words of my Michigan farmer, Grandpa Vanderbilt, arrived at nut-cutting time. But this is not a question whose differing answers can be compromised or negotiated or finessed. It is one or the other. That of individual liberty codified by the Constitution and the rule of law under the Founders Republic, or the rule of man as represented by the law of the jungle, backed up by the iron fist of tyrannical government. Harry Reid understands this. Y'all saw what he said the other day. This isn't over, he threatened. You know what? He's right. It isn't over. It can never be over until one side or the other wins. Don't think he's just talking about the bunch. He is promising us all civil war on a vast scale.
Hell on earth is what he wants.
Because state-sponsored violence is the only way that they can win an argument. Free people, especially free people who are armed and willing to use those arms in defense of liberty. Harry Reid says this isn't over. Based on the warning y'all gave him and his bully boys last week, he should fervently pray that it is. As for me, I think I'll send him a soap dish. The 2014 Award for Incitement to Civil War. I will send it as a reminder with the message, don't poke the Wolverine with a sharp stick, Harry, unless you want your balls ripped off.
That man you just saw speaking is on Social Security, and he's trying to incite a fake civil war against the U.S. government. Screw him, screw those people and their fake white nationalist fascist civil war.
From my perspective, the really crucial aspect here is that we've built a truly scalable technology, and this is what we've shown now with the 128 qubit processor. The integration of this programmable magnetic memory, the fact that integration hasn't caused an environment that is damaging to the quantum mechanics that's going on in the processor. We've been able to merge all of these different really challenging components to make this technology real, and to me that's why we can say it's truly a commercial quantum computer. In a lot of these other proposals for quantum computing, there's no they aren't truly scalable designs. There's no there's always a limit to how much it can be scaled up to before some other technology has to be invented or created in order to help that. With the design that we have now, it is a truly scalable design. In addition, it's incredibly performant. I mean, the way that we've designed this system, you have the flexibility to run whatever types of problems you want. It's entirely programmable, and that I think is a very important element. We've tried very hard to make it as close and consistent with our normal experience with computers as possible, as opposed to being some exotic quantum computer and I have to be a PhD physicist to know how to even interact with this thing. It's actually something that's very simple that high school students can understand and could program and actually have. We've brought high school students through here to take a look at it. So I mean that's also a key thing. You could argue it's not a crucial thing to because this is a quantum computer technology. That's not a crucial thing, but I actually think it is. That connection with the user is something that really makes this technology adoptable and applicable to the really hard problems that it will be able to solve. We've essentially removed or reduced those barriers as much as possible, and it's all those things to me that makes it a commercial quantum computer.
Now it's time to start talking about people on the opposite end of the spectrum. The smart scientists and engineers that are moving our race and our species, I shouldn't have said race, the human race. When I say race, I mean the human race. Those idiot Bundy supporters got me thinking about race. Let's talk about science. Let's talk about technological singularity. Let's talk about the advancements of mankind. Let's talk about what's been going on just in the past couple of weeks. This is my prediction. When I started this show, I said, what's going to happen is as we approach 2033, the technological singularity, as we approach that time period, waves of progress would come off and radiate from it, because it's like wading into an ocean and everything's getting progressively deeper and deeper, but you're also getting hit by waves of new scientific advancements and new scientific achievements. And China is kind of leading the charge in some of these right now, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But the idea is that my small little show, my 1 hour show that I do once a week, can no longer keep up with all of the scientific achievements and all the scientific advancements that happen in that week. But I'm going to try to show you some of the cooler ones that we can talk about. For example, Terminator, this is from New Scientist. Terminator-style liquid metal reconnects severed nerves. Say goodbye to nerve damage. Experts with bullfrog nerves show that a Terminator-style liquid metal alloy could one day be placed inside the body to repair severed nerves. This alloy would stay in place until the nerve is healed before being slurped back up with a syringe. Researchers basically took this stuff, put it into a frog after they had, cut and severed the leg in it, nerve in its leg, And it worked. It allowed the nerve to heal. And there you go. Perfect example. This was May 2nd, published in New Scientist. Look at how much, I mean, we like to pride ourselves on how far we've come. You know, we have the atomic bomb, we walked on the moon, but still, we have so many things about us that we've yet to learn. We are still in our infancy. You know, I mean, we can't even cure cardiovascular disease yet, but yet, you know, we think that we've plateaued, and that's what sickens me, really, is this mental disease in America right now, that everything's fine the way it is. All industry is fine the way it is, and all of our scientific advancements are fine the way it is, and we don't need to be moving forward, and we don't need to be doing anything, and we don't need to be pushing, and especially, we don't need to be spending any money. And it's a mental disease. Financial conservatism is. The idea that we're just going to save money to die is beyond ludicrous to me. Get that money. Get Wall Street's money and put it towards science. That's what I say. It's the only way we can fight communist China. Moving on. A brain implant will restore memory. The Department of Defense, DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, is forging ahead with a 4-year plan to build sophisticated memory simulators. As part of President Barack Obama's $100 million initiative to better understand the human brain. The science has never been done before and raises ethical questions about whether the human mind should be manipulated. Yeah, people are going to be like, whoa, should we do this? Yes, we should! It is our right. It is our right to improve and enhance ourselves. Some say that this could benefit 5 million Americans with Alzheimer's disease and 300,000 U.S. military men and women who have sustained traumatic brain injuries. We think, quoting the DARPA program manager, Justin Sanchez, we think we can develop neuroprosthetic devices that can directly interface with the hippocampus and can restore the first type of memories we are looking at, the declarative memories. Declarative memories are, of course, recollections of people, events, facts, figures, and no research has ever shown that they can be put back once they're lost. But now DARPA's saying perhaps they could. This brings up serious moral questions. If they can implant memories into a human brain, that's what they're working on, then what is preventing them from implanting false memories into a human brain? We are opening up a whole new chapter in science. As we approach the technological singularity, I mean, our technology will be a million light years ahead of our generation, the young generation, the millennials, will need to debate some things, even at the Supreme Court level, that other generations never had to even consider. For example, living machines. Like, should we give them rights? With the ability to implant memories, does that mean that we can create artificial ones? What if somebody opens up a company and they're like, yeah, we'll just give you fake vacation memories, a la Total Recall? Is this a path we want to go down? I think that science and technology is a path that we always want to go down, but we need to do it in a very responsible and humanitarian way. And we don't need to lose who we are as human. We don't need to lose that, because if we ever do, we will lose our art. We will lose our magic. We will lose our ability to imagine. And people need to understand that science itself is empirically true, but scientists, in order to better understand the world and form their theories, they need to start with imagination to form their hypothesis. The TV show Cosmos has been trying to explain this to the American people. And it's a hard concept to explain, because when you tell people that science starts inside imagination, inside the human brain, then people start to get a little, whoa, are you saying science is just made up? People just sit around and make up theories? Well, no. People make theories after they see the evidence, and they wonder why. Why does it happen like that? And then they can postulate hypothesis to explain why. And postulating a hypothesis comes from imagination, because you have to imagine a mechanism. For when Darwin figured out evolution, he for the life of him could not figure out how it happened, but he imagined, he postulated, he hypothesized that there must be some mechanism inside the human body, or inside all life, that causes changes and diversification through generation, through offspring. And what's interesting is that Mendel's work was sent to him and was sitting on Darwin's desk, and Darwin never opened it. If he did open it, he probably would not have been able to read, because it was in German, and Darwin didn't read German. But Mendel's work was sitting on Darwin's desk, and if Charles Darwin had just opened it and looked and seen the wonders that is genetics, he would have been like, mind blown! It would have confirmed everything, and it probably would have reinvigorated him, because Darwin got really sick towards the ends of his life, because he suffered from severe depression, and he lost his daughter. But, if he would learn about genetics, maybe that would have reinvigorated him. Moving on, this is my personal favorite right here. Folks, I've been arguing for solar for years. If 5 years ago, I was like, solar's not here yet, solar's not ready. But over the past 5 years, the price of solar has dropped 80 to 85%. So solar is now here. Solar is viable. Solar is just slightly more expensive than other fossil fuel-based energy methods, which makes it preferable because it's cleaner. So, this is the reason why when you go to the grocery store, people buy the product that says all natural, fat-free, healthy for you, because they want to pay a little bit more to try to get something a little healthier. Well, this is the reason why I call this libertarianism and conservative economic theory a mental disease, because the brain completely shuts off and does not say that when it comes to our power grid. Why? Why do we want to settle for the cheap coal plants when we can spend a little bit more money and get better energy, cleaner energy? Now here we go. Green jet fuel has been made from sunlight. That's right. This is from the IFLS blog. Consortium of research institutions and corporations have announced a solution to one of the major obstacles to a sustainable world: carbon-neutral fuel for airplanes. While political obstacles may intervene, we now have the technology to provide electricity for virtually the whole world from non-polluting sources. I agree with that completely. With the rise of electric vehicles, this can be transferred to land transport as well. However, air travel was always going to be a much tougher nut to crack. Let's skip ahead. Jet fuels made from a mixture of hydrocarbons to provide low freezing point, anti-static flash point, blah, 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 blah. Let's see if we can get to the actual point. The solar jet team first converted CO2 and H2O to hydrogen carbon monoxide mixture using concentrated sunlight and metal oxide catalyst, a technique for converting syngas to kerosene. The Fischer-Tropsch process is already in widespread use. Quote, the solar reactor technology features enhanced radiative heat transfer and fast reaction kinetics, which are crucial for maximizing the solar-to-fuel energy conversion efficiency, says Professor Aldo Steinfeld of ETH Zurich. The project is, of course, still at the proof concept stage, and the price of fuel produced in this way is not yet clear. Yeah, basically they can take CO2 and water and turn it into jet fuel using sunlight, using solar power. Once again, people, I promote solar power. All forms of power are solar power. I can't say this enough. Every single, the coal is just stored solar power that's in the dirt. Why would you want to dig up old stored solar power when we can just catch it? There is more energy that falls on planet Earth on any given day than we could possibly ever get from coal in a year. And that's just the truth. All we have to do is catch it. That's it. The only thing we have to do that is build solar plants. That's it. The only thing that we have to do to build solar plants is to convince our politicians to spend some tax money. That's it. Get Wall Street out of the way. Get these economic eggheads out of the way. These idiots that keep trying to say, no, we can't spend money. We have to put it in my personal bank account. Fools. Morons. They're anti-American. They're anti-progress. They're anti-science. They're anti-economics. But they fill their head with this Ayn Randian conservative philosophy that greed is somehow good and that profit is somehow a preferable moral outcome. It's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. We'll talk more about that in another segment. If you can hear my voice, I'm a little tired from the move. I had to stay up for 36 hours at one point, just moving furniture into a truck, and then driving the truck down the road. And then we didn't want to pay to have the truck an extra day because we were trying to save money. Because me and my wife got some Galaxy S5s. So we saved money on the rental truck, and then we used that money to get Galaxy S5s. So I love budgeting money. It's great. Here we go. Speaking of budgeting money, Zhao Wing-Chen is the sort of scientist that you would want to see in the United States. Francis Collins, director of the National Institutes of Health, calls him one of the smartest kids that comes along one in a time. Or in a long time, I should say. But after 12 years at the University of Michigan, most recently conducting research into how cellular secretions regulate cholesterol, he is returning to China. Some of the reasons why: Chen's work ranked him at the very top of a group of scientists being evaluated for research work at NIH, but a budget-caused hiring freeze meant no positions were available. At the same time, Peking University offered him a tenure-track position funding his research and giving him a lab and students to help him with his work. Chen's experience is increasingly common. This is from, LivingstonDaily.com. Thanks to declining federal budgets for biomedical research, Chen sees his colleagues spending more time in an unsuccessful struggle for grants. The more I admire them, the less I want to experience what they're going through, he says. China is now perhaps a better place for me to grow. So, just to be clear, everything that I've been saying is true. China is increasing scientific budgets. America is decreasing scientific budgets. And the scientists are starting to leave and jump ship and go to China. And we will talk more about China and China's expansion in the next segment. Stay tuned.
These buildings behind me were not built in the normal fashion, but were actually printed out by a 3D printer. This printing method was developed by private inventors.
The 10 standalone one-story houses look normal at first sight, but the walls are made up of layers of construction waste and cement instead of brick and mortar. However, technological limitations prevented the building's roofs from being printed. The buildings will serve as offices at a high-tech industrial park in Shanghai. We visited the company's workshop in Shanghai's neighboring city of Suzhou to find out precisely how the buildings were printed. The walls are primarily made out of material refined from construction waste and mixed with cement. The wall structure was scrupulously designed to ensure soundness and practicality. The printer used to make the walls was designed and made by inventor Ma Yihe. His company and research center are all made out of 3D printed walls. It took about a month for him to build his office, which covers an area of over 10,000 square meters. Ma said a 3D printing assembly line usually consists of 4 printers. He added that the new technology is cost-effective and environmentally friendly.
To obtain natural stones, we need mining, digging up blocks of stones, and sawing them into pieces. The whole mining and manufacturing process is damaging our environment badly. But with 3D printing, we are not polluting the environment. Instead, we are recycling mine tailings, and by using a special treatment, we can turn them into materials like this. We can provide building materials according to the customer's needs. Any thickness in any color in large sizes. It's fast and cheap.
Ma has been researching 3D printing for 12 years. He believes his technology can change the way people think about housing and construction.
With 3D printing, in the future, we can build good buildings with reliable materials and without waste. Waste from the demolished buildings, industrial waste, or even mine tailings can be used to build structures without recycling treatment. This will ensure a healthier work environment for construction workers, as well as reduce construction costs.
Ma said his technology still needs to be improved. He added that he hopes 3D printing can be used to build skyscrapers in the future.
There absolutely is no denying the facts anymore, folks. China is surging forward with science. They are funding science. They are graduating over 3 million PhD researchers per year currently. They are surging forward, and they're promising to fund them all, to give them all money. They're writing blank checks. They're writing checks like mad. They want science. They want technology. They want it. They desire it. And they've gone mad for it. Look at this. China's research into thorium energy is accelerating. This is from New Straits Times. It's a Malaysian publication. The Chinese government is long aware of the health-threatening air quality situation, but finding solutions is not easy. Because basically they have to burn coal to fuel their ever-expanding society. And folks, if you go to a Business Insider and look at some of the GIFs that have been posted there of the expansions of Chinese cities just in the past 5 years, you will be amazed. It's like, you ever play the game SimCity and you just get frustrated with it and how difficult it is, so then you start over like a brand new map and you just make it perfectly flat and you're just like, I'm just going to see how big of a city I can build. China's doing that currently with about 32 different cities. They are literally just blowing up mountains with dynamite, flattening the area, and then just expanding as fast as they possibly can. So what's happening is, now, like every year, they have like 200 new coal power plants online or what have you. So their air quality has gotten so horrendous. It's our future. If we keep bringing more and more fossil fuels online like we're doing, then our future will be to live in a smog-filled, pollution-filled country like China. But China is recognizing that they have a problem. Anyway, back to the... here we go. There's no doubt that coal-powered electricity generation, fossil fuel-powered cars provide a lethal combination, produce smog, reminiscent of big cities like Los Angeles and London. So how does China plan to cope? It has been reported that China is actively looking at nuclear power as an option, but not just conventional uranium nuclear power. China is investing in a thorium reactor. Reports have surfaced that the scientists in Shanghai have been told to bring early fruition to plans to build the first fully functional thorium reactor within 10 years, instead of 25 years, as originally was targeted by not only them, but our American scientists were like, if we got serious about a thorium reactor, it would take a long time. Currently, American scientists say that they will have the first thorium reactor up and running in 2038. That's too far. It's not enough time. We can't wait that long. China's not alone in the race to commercialize thorium-based power. The country faces fierce competition. Some have described the situation where resources are working under, quote, war-like pressure to deliver. Proponents of thorium power are elated with vigor shown by China. Some hail the concerted move by China as doing the world a big, huge favor. They may even help to close the era of fossil fuel dominance. The West risks being left behind. The project begun with a startup budget of $350 million. They recruited 140 PhD scientists at the Shanghai Institute of Nuclear and Applied Physics, and they plan to add 750 staff by the year 2015. Now you need to know, folks, their thorium reactor project is headed, once again, by a Chinese scientist that was trained here in America in American colleges, right? And he has been told to get that reactor up and running. They have been told, do it. they will be given pretty much all the help that they want, all the researchers that they want, all the money that they want. They just need to get it up and running. And if China gets a thorium reactor before we do, well, then they have some super awesome technology that we do not. Think about that. Do you want to live in that world? I don't want to live in that world. I'm a patriot to my country. I like America. I think America's kind of cool. I was born here. You know, I like seeing America be the best. You know, maybe it's just stupid nationality inside of me, but you know, whatever. You gotta have a team to root for, right? I mean, we're all human beings. We're all on the same team, but I kind of like my team a little bit. I kind of like the red, white, and blue. I kind of like the whole bald eagle thing. You know, it's kind of cool. I don't know. All right, here we go. This is from The Verge. China's explosive growth has wreaked havoc on its environment for decades. The government paid little more than lip service, but the ruling Communist Party has now changed its tune, acknowledging that the extent of its pollution crisis is severe and it's taking aggressive action to curtail it. Last week, the government passed sweeping amendments to its environmental protection laws, the first that it's done in 25 years. They have now imposed tougher penalties for polluters and making it easier for whistleblowers and advocates to report polluters and polluting companies. When it goes into effect next January, the law will establish, quote, environmental protection as the country's basic policy. So basically, the Chinese government realizes that they have a serious pollution problem, and they have passed legislation to fix that. And you can't do it overnight because China wants their economy to continue growing. They want their industry to continue growing. They want their commercial sector to continue growing. They want their science and industry to continue growing. So they're not just going to come down with a ban hammer on Tuesday, you know. You can't do that because then your economy will grind to a halt. So what they have done is they've passed a resolution that basically says that protecting the environment is now part of the official policy of the government, and that it's basically their equivalent of a right. The Chinese people now have the right to live in a clean environment, and that goes into effect in January. And the way that it's going to work is China is actually developing currently a real-time pollution monitoring system. This is something we do not have here in the United States. And if you attempted to even bring the idea up, the Republicans would whine and complain. And, you can't control industry. We're all gonna die. They're so anti-progress, it just infuriates me. So China is working on this real-time pollution monitoring system where basically, in a nutshell, they hook up sensors to the smokestacks, and then the government gets a real-time readout of which industries is polluting how much, and then they can just find them. It's like, okay, well, you put out 20 billion metric tons of carbon this year, we're just going to charge you X dollars for your pollution. And this will enable them to actually strategically put pressure where they want it. So instead of just having blanket, you can't pollute at all, blah, 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 they can strategically start tightening down on the worst offenders and then being a little bit more lax on the startups that are working on technologies that they like and that they support. This is how communism works. Don't let a capitalist try to tell you that China's going through a capitalist revolution. They are not. They are still fully communist. They still have full iron fist control of their capitalist market, of their free market, which is not really free. Let me tell you about the Chinese stock market. The Chinese stock market is regulated in a socialist way so that it constantly goes up. It doesn't collapse. They put limits. Stock is not allowed to fall too fast, and stock is not allowed to climb up too fast. In order the reason why they do these limits and these limitations and this regulation is because they are artificially inducing steady economic GDP growth. And it's working. It's working. This is not a new concept. This is not something that other countries have not done. Other European countries do similar things like this. But America, man, we're stuck in like 1978 or something. It's insane. There is a war. There is a war on science in America. America has turned against science. They have turned against intellectuals. The Fox Newses of the world have convinced them that their ignorance in a democracy is just as good as someone else's knowledge. It's very sad. Look at this. I watch C-SPAN so that you don't have to. U.S. Senate Committee on Appropriations, right? This is who showed up. These people showed up here. National Institute of Health, National Science Foundation, the Department of Energy, and DARPA. All of these guys joined forces to go to the U.S. Senate Committee on Appropriations and to say one thing and one thing only. We are not funding our science. We are losing our science. We are losing out on scientific progress, scientific innovation. We are losing out on things that are now, as I've shown, are now leaving and going to China. Researchers are leaving and going to China. PhD researchers are leaving to go to China. It's insane. It's just absolutely insane. Entire technology sectors are, instead of springing forth and growing here in America, are now leaving and going to China. Why? Because our government refuses to fund science. They absolutely, this is ridiculous. The sequester is basically a tightening on the money that goes to fund things like basic research in science. And don't think that I'm being, rhetorical or inflammatory language when I say that there's a war on science. All one needs to do is turn on Fox News, and they run segments all the time where they talk about, oh man, there's these scientists that are like studying lobsters on treadmills. Like, why on earth would we want to spend $3 million for that? That's a waste of our money. It's basic scientific research. By funding it, you have no idea what we will discover. You have no idea what we will discover. That's how science works. Science is stabbing in the dark with a knife until you hit something, and then you can turn on the light and see what you hit. That's how it works. It's a blind, almost mechanical process. And you move forward by slow incremental steps. You move forward by the number of papers that you publish in the peer-reviewed journals. You move forward by actually getting research done. And then all that knowledge is pooled and combined and collected together by smart people. And then they look over the entire landscape and they say, wait a minute, I think I know why these things are occurring. I think I have a theory of why these things are occurring. Now remember, early in the program I was talking to you about, hypothesis starts from the human mind, from imagination, right? That's how it works. By collecting more and more data, by collecting more and more knowledge, by getting more and more papers published, by getting more and more conclusions in science, by getting more knowledge, we then have a bigger knowledge pool for our experts to hypothesize and formulate their theories. And it's just sickening that America has been sitting still. They are not increasing their scientific budgets. They are not pushing ahead and funding NIH research. They're no longer funding NASA. They recently had a U.S. House Budget Committee meeting where the director of NASA flat out told him, you guys are not giving us enough. We need more. We are unable to fund these programs that we want to fund, such as asteroid mining and the such. These programs, like the Apollo program, had countless spin-offs of technology that then we still use today, such as microwaves and new alternative fuels. And you can go to the NASA website actually, and they actually have a page that is dedicated to technology spin-offs. And the dang thing is updated so often that it's really hard to keep up with it. Anyway, there is absolutely 100% war on science going on in America. And the problem is that it's not just that we are sitting still and we're not moving forward. It's not just that we've waged this war where we start to talk about those elite intellectuals in colleges, those college professors. It's not enough that they're slandering and talking bad about our scientists and engineers. It's that those scientists and engineers now have an alternative. They have somewhere else to go, and that's China. And China is funding them and giving them money and research labs and assistance, and they're saying, go, 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 go. We, the Chinese people, want science and technology. We want it. We desire it. We crave it because it's going to further our ultimate communist goal. And that should frighten you if you're not Chinese, because the Chinese have been kind of historically a tad bit not inclusive. We have just a little bit of time left on today's program, but I want to reiterate, I want to reaffirm, there is a massive disinformation campaign that's being orchestrated by corporate media. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to know that the media that you listen to, it's not just Fox News that is the problem. The media that you listen to, all of the information that you digest that comes from CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, all of it, it's just Wall Street corporate propaganda, every last bit of it. All of it. There's just different flavors like Coke and Pepsi, but yet they still come from billion-dollar corporations. Fox News is just outright hostile to science and technology, right? They're the leading the charge of ignorance, what I like to say. They are currently leading the charge of ignorance, right? Here is Fox News saying that climate change is just a superstition.
There is an inclination upon some to doubt the science, despite the overwhelming evidence and the overwhelming percentage in the 97% range of scientists who study this issue who agree that climate change is real and that it is the result of human activity.
Charles.
99% of physicists were convinced that space and time are fixed until Einstein, working at a patent office, wrote a paper in which he showed that they are not. I'm not impressed by numbers. I'm not impressed by consensus. When I was a psychiatrist, I participated in consensus conferences on how to define depression and mania. These are things that people negotiate in the way you would negotiate a bill, because the science is unstable. Because in the case of climate, the models are changeable. And because climate is so complicated, the idea that we who have trouble forecasting what's going to happen on Saturday in the climate could pretend to be predicting what's going to happen in 30, 40 years is absurd. And you always see that no matter what happens, whether it's a flood or it's a drought, whether it's warming or cooling, it's always a result of what is ultimately what we're talking about here, human sin with pollution of carbon. It's the oldest superstition around. It was in the Old Testament. It's in the rain dance of Native Americans. If you sin, the skies will not cooperate. This is quite superstitious, and I'm waiting for science which doesn't declare itself definitive, but is otherwise convincing.
Have you ever heard such anti-intellectual garbage, such anti-science garbage in all your life? Have you ever heard anything like that? It infuriates me. It makes me so angry. This man is trying to do he's trying to do a switcheroo. He's trying to tell you, the viewer, that science is just superstition, and it's just people getting together and making stuff up and arguing, right? He's trying to turn science into a religion and then debunk it. It's a straw man. It's disingenuous. The man's a psychopath. He's cold. He has issues. He has serious issues. I want to know what his But it's not just Fox News. It's not just Fox News that is anti-science. It is not just Fox News. This is what you need to understand. It is the 6 major media corporations, and all of them have a pro-corporate message. This is what CNN had to say about climate change recently.
But Bill, isn't it a problem when science guys attempt to bully other people? I mean,
that's right. That was a conservative hack on CNN shouting down and telling Bill Nye that he was a bully because he had the nerve and the gall to actually get on TV and try to explain science and what scientists believe about climate change. Actually get on TV and try to explain to people that the threat is real. Miami currently is flooding due to climate change. I know, I live in South Florida. There's a street that continually floods now because the sea has risen almost 6 inches. This is insanity. And all of your news, all of your media just ignores it and continues to just say, there's nothing wrong, nothing to see here, nothing to see here. And when a scientist, a science popularizer like Bill Nye, tries to go on TV and explain, hey guys, we actually do have a problem. We do need to address this. We need to build a renewable energy grid. We need to get off of fossil fuels. We need to clean up our environment to prevent this ongoing catastrophe. She calls him a bully. This is a disease, folks. Anti-intellectualism is a disease of the mind. It's a disease of society. And we are not immune from it. We have been infected by it. And I'm actually just going to allow Bill Nye himself to close out the program today with a very important message.
I want you to look me in the eye and tell me in good conscience that climate change is our most urgent, #1 priority right now.
Climate change is our most urgent #1 priority right now.